What's up guys, welcome back to the video, and today's video I'm going to be discussing the number one reason for losing fat, and this is the only reason you need to do. If you adopt this reason, if you understood the right trick of losing fat loss, you own the game. That means, dude, you have done the 70% of the job and just 30% of it is still yet to be done. So I'm going to be explaining what is that trick, how do you encompass the trick, and how does it actually work while introducing some concepts about sports science, right? And how does a body function with this help of the trick while we induce this trick. So let's get started. So many people, not just dudes, I mean all people, they majorly fall into the trap of just doing excessive workouts. Now excessive workouts is good, everything is good, but when it goes to a situation where it goes to a situation wherein it's not supposed to be, then it might hamper your recovery, it might hamper your growth, and you might not be able to recuperate on time. So therefore, if we focus the same amount of efforts but in a limited time, in a limited duration, if we do not exceed the level, for instance, if I overdo workouts, if I excessively overstrain my muscles, which I not have to do it, then I might call the action for cortisol. Now what is cortisol? Cortisol is basically a stress hormone which decreases your muscle mass and just increases your fat production into your body. And what happens is this inculcates stress into your body, and you might feel symptoms of anxiety, you might feel stress mood, you might feel a bit of uneasiness, you might feel mood swings, and therefore this is the whole implications of uh, stimulating cortisol production into your body. Therefore, we have to minimize cortisol production, and therefore we have to stimulate growth hormone. So, in order to prevent cortisol hormone, what is the most important thing? Diet is number one. 70%. So if you understand the game of diet, how does it work, how does it function, what foods should we avoid, what foods should we eat, how much rest should be how much rest should be uh, taken in order for the body to be recuperated, right? So when it comes to diet, 70% of the dudes make mistake when it comes to diet itself. Now they totally understand the workout regimen, like how am I supposed to work out, which how many sets should I include, how many supersets should I include, what sort of exercise do I need to include for each group of muscle, how much rest should I take. Now that's fine, but majority people fall in the prey and death trap of diet. Now the concept of diet is basically increase your protein intake, right? Carbs should be around low, carbs should be low, right? Healthy fats should be induced as well. So protein low, protein high, sorry. I would recommend at least 1.5 grams of protein per body weight. The second thing is carbohydrates should be low. Point number two. Point number three is healthy fats. Or I'm going to be explaining deep in depth what are the sources of healthy fats, what are the sources of low carbs, and what are the sources of protein, right? So carbs, right? When you go to carbs, you can have a load of options. Basically not simple carbs. I would highly recommend you guys to just avoid simple carbs because it does nothing to your body. It just goes into your system, absorbed, assimilated, and excreted. Besides that, it has no other job. So basically simple carbs just spike your insulin levels which is situated in the pancreas, and it does nothing beyond that. It has no other job, and it just makes you feel really heavy, it makes you feel really bloated. Your skin just to change, and there is a lot of uneasiness while you sit, and therefore the fat accumulation by consuming simple carbs can lead to obesity and overweight problems like diabetes, or maybe even hypertension, etc., and loads of other diseases. So I would highly suggest you guys to just refrain from eating simple carbs, right? So if we don't eat simple carbs, what are the other food sources available, right? Good question. Low glycemic Carbs which have low glycemic index. Now basically glycemic index is basically the starch. So if we consume low starchy carbohydrates, foods which contain a high amount of starch, foods which contain low amount of starch actually should be induced, and foods which contain high amount of starch should be excluded. Why? Because while we consume high starchy carbohydrates, basically our food gets broken down into bits and pieces, and it gets supplied to each and every body part. Later on, glucose is stimulated inside our body. Glucose gets converted. The food gets converted into the glucose. Then simultaneously gets broken down into several integral pieces, and therefore those pieces are reached to each and every part of the body, and finally it is excreted out of the system. So this is how food is absorbed, assimilated, and excreted out of the body through a simple process of uh, cycle actually. So what happens while we consume low glycemic carbohydrates is it gets into your system, it gets into your bloodstream quite rapidly, not quite rapidly, quite streamlined, quite slowly and steadily. Instead of absorbing quite fast, the thing with low glycemic carbs is it gets absorbed really, really slow, and that is what we want. So by absorbing the food low, the pancreas secretes the insulin quite less. A less amount of insulin is secreted by the pancreas as compared to simple carbs. Simple carbs, it is drastically upscaled, whereas in complex carbohydrates, it is relatively upscaled over a period of time. Let's say it takes around 6 to 8 hours for the pancreas to release the insulin from the body, right? So therefore, it is always advisable to go for low glycemic carbohydrates, such as I will tell you this food sources as well. Oatmeals, chapatis are okay, but do consume them low. Like one is enough. Maybe one or two. Two is also enough probably if you're going to fat loss. I would recommend just eat one. One is enough probably. All right. Then we have other sources like we have macaronis. You can have them once in a while. Then we have beans, which do contain an excellent source of protein, as well as they do contain carbs. Chicken breast, they do contain carbohydrates as well as protein. Tuna, fish, fish contains the highest amount of protein, but it contains very low amount. It has very relative low amount of carbohydrate intake. So therefore, oatmeals, chapatis, I would highly recommend just going bare to minimum, because if you just try to increase the consumption of, let's say, wheat should be excluded from your diet, because it just makes you it just makes you heavy bloatedness, and because of the water retention, it gets fast absorbed into your body. So therefore you might see that fat accumulation and water accumulates over your skin, and the only reason to lose water retention is workouts. You sweat, so when you work out, the body temperature exumes out, and as a result it gets heated up, and therefore sweat is accumulated from the body, and therefore that's how the body burns calories and energy, right? So, when you understand the plot of diet, when you understand your nutrition, the 70% of the job is done. Now, when you understand dieting, it's done. It is not yet done, bro. 70% of the job is done. I said 70 and the 30% is workout, right? So, workout is quite easy. You have to solely focus on strength training, only strength training, focusing on progressive overload. Try to increase the weight each and every freaking week. Increase the weight, challenge yourself, increase your pain tolerance level, and see which stage are you. Can you challenge yourself beyond your levels? Can you go further than that? Okay, you have lifted 50 kgs. Now try to lift 60 kgs. Okay, once you've done 60, try to lift 80 kgs, but with proper form and proper precautionary measures. I would not recommend anyone to lift heavy while simultaneously degrading their form. No, whatsoever. You have to do a proper warm up before you commence your workout. Do proper warm ups of around 10 to 15 minutes and then progress to your workout. Before doing any before going for any heavy workout, if you do not stretch your muscles, you're not increasing the blood flow in your body, and therefore as a result the chances of injury can increasingly go up to 95 to 99%. 95 to 99%, it is likely that you might sustain an injury. Therefore, I would highly recommend to do a 10 to 15-minute warm up before you commence your workout, and then straight away head to your workout regimen and whatever workout you want to progress with, right? So, with workouts, as I said, keep challenging yourself, increase your pain tolerance level, try to increase the weight each and every week. By each and every week means one week you lifted 5 kgs, next week 10 kg. Now just continue lifting for a week. Do not upscale the weight every day. All I meant to say is upscale the weight every week. By this you will encompass a lot of changes in your body. You will see a lot of muscle mass improvements, although it's just going to be a couple of weeks. However, you are up slowly and steadily approaching your dream physique, your dream achievement. So by being in a calorie deficit, you also have to be in a calorie deficit by consuming carbohydrates, but it doesn't mean that you can have them as much as you want. It does spike your insulin levels, but you have to consume them in a moderate amount. You have to be in a calorie deficit. Nothing is possible unless you be in a calorie deficit. So I would recommend to first calculate your maintenance calories, and therefore uh, try to be in around 10% from your maintenance calories. So you have to deduce 10% of your maintenance calories, right? So let's say if my calories is around 2700, I will have to consume at least 2500 calories in order for to lose at least zero point 0.5 gram of fat. 1 pound of fat is pretty good, but if it goes 1.5 to 2 pounds of fat, it might be relatively risky, and you might hamper your metabolic rate, and your metabolism might get hampered in the long run. So I would recommend you guys to lose the fat in at least 1 pound, sorry, per body weight, and you would be in a relatively good position, right? So if you encompass all this strategy what I have said, like first of all your nutrition, fix up your nutrition. Secondly, fix up your workouts. Thirdly, cardio. Talking about cardio, you can just use cardio as a supplementary tool, man. I mean, cardio is not necessary, it should be induced, but it just burns up your calories. It just burns up the excessive calories which you cannot burn from weight training. If you want to over exaggerate it, if you want to burn some extra calories, you can just use for cardio. What are the sources of cardio? Bicycling, swimming. Then we go high HIIT, which is high intensity interval training, which just increases your max O2 levels up to 80% of the generated oxygen levels. So by doing HIT, it's just a short burst exercises like burpees, like truck jumps, like jumping jacks, or maybe high knees, jump squats are some of the most popular exercises which many of the athletes do. So if you just try to use cardio as a supplementary tool, you might see a mixed amount of results. But if you make cardio as your priority over weight training, you might lose all your muscle mass. So all your if let's say if you do 10 to 15 minutes of cardio, you might lose all your muscle mass. That is not good. That is not what we expect. Our main focus is strength training. Our main focus is hypertrophy, gaining size, gaining endurance, gaining strength. It's not our goal is not to be looking skinnier and skinnier. We need to gain size. So if you have to gain size and strength, you have to be in a calorie deficit, you have to lift heavy, progressive overload, make sure you are recuperating well for the next day. Yes guys, sleep is a very much, at least sleep for a minimum of 8 to 10 hours. If you're sleeping below 8 to 10 hours, you might not seem to get the results what you want. You might not get your dream physique, and therefore your recovery might get hampered. As so therefore I would highly encourage all my viewers, whoever is watching this video, to please do follow the steps if you want to achieve your dream physique, if you have to lose fat loss really fast, like in a span of just, if you follow this strategy, you can relatively lose fat in just a span of at least 2 to 3 weeks. So that is around 28 days, right? 28 days. This is a lifetime, a lifespan. I mean, the time period where you can lose fat very relatively very quickly. So that's it, guys. That is the number one trick for losing fat in just a matter of time. And don't forget to like the video, comment, share, subscribe. And till then, I will see you in the next video. Till then, peace out.